right? No individual has a right to own slaves, and the federal government is protecting, right, that right. Not, we did not get there with the 14th and 15th Amendments, right? We did not get there with the 14th and 15th Amendments, right? Those amendments are still in abeyance, really, in terms of the idea that they are guaranteeing certain basic fundamental constitutional rights to individuals, right? Those amendments are always saying, well, the state can't do this and the state can't do that, and if the state does this, then we'll take a look at it, right? But it doesn't say that you as an individual can't do this, right? So the second constitutional era was upended by the Civil Rights Movement, right? The article to look at or to Google is Circular 3591, right? How many people know of it?
Sorry.
Circular 3591, Attorney General Francis Bill issues Circular 3591, December 12th, 1941, 5 days after Pearl Harbor. And he sends it to every state attorney general and informs them that they should no longer prosecute peonage as debt. They should prosecute peonage as involuntary servitude and slavery, right? And so he is bringing to an end a constitutional era in which black boys were rounded up by the thousands and tens of thousands, charged with not having any money, and sent to work in the mines and in the cotton fields, right? And in effect, were still indentured servitudes or slaves, right? That was from the end of Reconstruction right down to World War II. Now, why is President Roosevelt concerned, right? Because he now needs black men, right? Because the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor. He's going to war, right? And he knows, this is what Amzie Moore told me in Cleveland. Amzie was the one that told us what to do when we got to Mississippi. He was the head of NACP in Cleveland. But he was a soldier in World War II on the Burma Road, and he was telling me all the time about Tokyo Rose and the Japanese lady on the airwaves asking him, why are you here? Why are you over here fighting us, right? So Roosevelt was heading that off, right, with Circular 3591, right? So what you're asking about is, how does the country change? What has to happen for the country to move, right? So the Civil Rights Movement really is happening in the background of World War I and World War II, right? It's World War I and World War II, which are dealing with all of these big issues about human freedom, and wrapped up in that is the whole issue of colonial peoples, right? And so after World War II, colonial peoples moved, and black people in this country are an internal colony, right? And so we are operating as part of that, even if we don't understand it, right? And so the Civil Rights Movement really upended the second constitutional era. Well, 50 is 2/3 of 75. Right? We're celebrating our 50th anniversary, right? So I'm looking forward to the next upending, right? We don't know how it's going to happen, right? But if we follow our past, right, we have uprooted ourselves every 3/4 of a century, roughly, right? And so I'm hoping it's a charge to the generation that's between 10 and 40 years old, who 30 years from now will be between 40 and 70 and running the country, right? And so the question is, what kind of country are they thinking about that they're going to run, right? And how are they going to make plans now? They have two jobs on the constitutional level. They have to make sure we get a constitutional and affirmative constitutional right to vote. We have a negative one now.
Yes.
And we have to lift education to the level of the United States Constitution. For purposes of our education right now, we are citizens of states. Right? For purposes of going to war, we are citizens of the country. For purposes of our education, we are citizens of states. So they've got to figure out how the education, public education, gets lifted, right, to the level of the Constitution. Right? They got heavy lifting.
A constitutional amendment for